It was a cold night in the town of Riven. The streets were empty. Only the wind made a sound. Riven K was a quiet man. He worked at the library. One night, he did not come home. His neighbor, Sarah, noticed this. Lyle always came home at 8 p.m., but now it was 11 p.m. Sarah knocked on his door. There was no answer. She called his phone. No one picked up. Sarah went to the police station and spoke to Officer Rook. "Lyle is missing," she said. Officer Rook nodded. He knew Lyle. Everyone did. He was a good man. "We will look for him," Officer Rook said. He and Sarah went to the library. It was dark and quiet. Lyle's car was still there. The door to the library was open. Inside, books were scattered on the floor. Sarah found Lyle's glasses on a table. "He never goes anywhere without these," she said. Officer Rook frowned. Something was wrong. Lyle had vanished without a trace. The search began. The town was worried. Where was Riven K? What had happened to him? The mystery was just beginning. The next day, Sarah went back to the library. She wanted to find clues. She looked around carefully. She saw a small piece of paper under a book. It was a note. The note said, "Meet me at the old mill at midnight." It was in Lyle's handwriting. Sarah showed the note to Officer Rook. He read it and sighed. "This is serious," he said. Officer Rook and Sarah decided to go to the old mill. It was outside the town. The mill had been closed for years. People said it was dangerous. At midnight, they arrived at the mill. The place was dark and cold. They saw broken windows and old machines. They walked carefully. Suddenly, they heard a noise. Someone was there. Sarah and Officer Rook hid behind a wall. They saw a tall man talking on the phone. "Yes, I have him," the man said. "He's safe for now." Sarah's heart raced. Was this man talking about Lyle? Officer Rook signaled Sarah to stay quiet. The man walked away. They followed him slowly. The man entered a small room. Sarah and Officer Rook peeked inside. They saw Lyle. He was tied to a chair. The tall man was guarding him. Lyle looked scared, but unharmed. Officer Rook whispered to Sarah, "We need to help him, but we must be careful." Sarah and Officer Rook backed away quietly. They needed to think of a plan. Sarah had an idea. "We should call for backup," she said. Officer Rook agreed. He called the station. Soon, 2 more officers arrived. They made a plan. Officer Green would distract the tall man. Sarah and the other officers would rescue Lyle. They moved into position. Officer Rook knocked on the door of the small room. The tall man opened it. "Who are you?" he asked. "What do you want?" "I heard someone inside," Officer Rook said. "I wanted to check." The tall man stepped out to block the door. He looked angry. At that moment, Sarah and the other officers rushed in from the side. They quickly untied Lyle. Thank you, Lyle whispered. He looked tired and scared. The tall man heard the noise. He turned around. Officer Rook tackled him to the ground. The other officers helped. They handcuffed the tall man. He was caught. Sarah hugged Lyle. "You're safe now," she said. Lyle nodded, his eyes full of gratitude. The officers took the tall man away. They would find out who he was and why he took Lyle. Back at the police station, Lyle told his story. "The man wanted information," he said. "He thought I knew something about the mill." "What did he want to know?" Sarah asked. Lyle shook his head. "I don't know," he said. "But I think there's more to this." The mystery was not over. There were still many questions. Who was the tall man? What was he looking for? And why did he think Lyle knew about it? The next day, Lyle, Sarah, and Officer Rook met to talk about the mill. Lyle had an idea. "We need to look around the mill," he said. "There might be clues." They drove to the old mill. It was still dark and cold. They entered carefully. The place felt eerie. They started to search each room. In one room, they found old papers. Sarah looked through them. "These are plans," she said, "for something big." Lyle found a hidden door behind a shelf. They opened the door. It led to a basement. The stairs were steep and dusty. They walked down slowly. The basement was filled with old machines and tools. In the corner, they found a large safe. It was locked. Officer Rook examined the safe. "We need to open this," he said. Sarah found a small key on a nearby table. "Try this," she said. The key fit. The safe opened with a click. Inside, they found old documents and maps. Lyle picked up a map. "This shows the mill and tunnels under it," he said. One document was a letter. It was from many years ago. It talked about a hidden treasure under the mill. "The tall man must have been looking for it," Sarah said to Lyle. "He thought you knew about the treasure." Officer Rook nodded. "We need to secure this place," he said, "and find out who else is involved." The mystery was getting clearer. They knew why Lyle was taken, but they still needed to find the treasure and the people behind it. The search was not over yet. Lyle, Sarah, and Officer Rook knew they had to find the treasure before anyone else. They studied the map carefully. It showed a tunnel under the mill leading to a secret room. They followed the map to a small door hidden behind a machine. The door creaked open. Inside, a dark tunnel stretched ahead. They entered, using flashlights to see. The tunnel was long and narrow. After a few minutes, they reached another door. Lyle pushed it open. They stepped into a small room. In the center was an old chest. Sarah's hands shook as she opened the chest. Inside, they found gold coins, jewels, and old artifacts. "This must be the treasure," she said, her eyes wide with amazement. Officer Rook smiled. "We did it," he said, "but we need to be careful. This is valuable." Suddenly, they heard footsteps behind them. The tall man had escaped and followed them. He looked furious. "That treasure is mine," he shouted. Lyle stood in front of Sarah and Officer Rook. "No, it belongs to the town," he said firmly. The tall man lunged at Lyle, but Officer Rook was ready. He quickly handcuffed the man again. "You're not getting away this time," he said. They took the treasure and the tall man back to the police station. The town was amazed at the discovery. The treasure was put in the local museum, and everyone was proud of Lyle, Sarah, and Officer Rook. Lyle was happy to be safe. He thanked Sarah and Officer Rook for their help. The mystery of Lyle's disappearance was solved. The town of Riven was peaceful again, and the secret of the old mill was finally revealed.